Notes 15, parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so today what we're doing is we're going to analyze slopes. I'm going to draw 3 different colored lines. The first line is going to have a slope. And by the way, what is the slope? The slope is m, and what over what is the slope? Thank you. So rise over run. We always remember our slope that way. But our line is going to be roughly about here. So this slope right here is going to be -1/3. Okay, the black line. So if you want to draw that on your paper, and pause if you ever need to on the video. Then I'm going to draw a purple line. Oh, and by the way, can you put m equals -1/3 right on that black line there? M equals -1/3. Can someone do it? Hey, Abby, can you do me a big favor and shut the door, please? Thank you so much. And then 3. And our purple line is going to have a slope of 3. Okay, it's going to have a slope of 3. So that means it's going to go up 3 and right 1, up 3 and right 1. So m equals 3/1, or just 3 you can put. And I'll zoom in on that so you can see it a little better. And then I'm going to draw a red line. 2, 3, 4, 5. Intersect right here. And this is also going to have a slope of 3. So it's going to go up 3 and right 1. And that basically should be parallel. All right. Or just 3. Okay. So what I have done is I've drawn 3 different lines of 3 different colors, and I've written the slopes next to those lines for you to see. Now, what do you notice about these slopes when you look at them? Okay, they look a little similar. I mean, they all have 3 in them. One of them is negative, 2 of them are positive. But what I'm trying to get at today is this concept of parallel and perpendicular. If you were to hold your hands or your arms up into parallel lines, they would be like this. Okay, so hold it parallel. Parallel. So these 2 lines here, the purple and the red, are parallel lines. And when we do parallel lines in math, or we indicate them with arrows. Okay, so we put 1 little arrow. If we had another set of parallel lines, we put 2 arrows on it. So this indicates that these lines are parallel. Okay, they never touch. And what do you notice about the slopes of those lines? You should notice that the slopes are the same. So the purple and the red both have the same slope of 3. And that's what I'm getting at, that parallel lines have the same slope. Now, what about this line right here that intersects both of them? This line is what we call perpendicular, and perpendicular lines look like this. They intersect at 90 degrees. So you can show me perpendicular. Write that with your arms, okay? Maybe the physical representation can help your brain, like, okay, perpendicular, and it doesn't look like this, it doesn't look like this. It's at a right angle. So what I do is I indicate a right angle, and I didn't draw that super perfect, but you can put little right angle symbols right there, indicating right angle, 90 degrees. That's the angle that those lines intersect the black line. And that black line is perpendicular to the red and purple. So what I'm trying to get at here is what the relationship of the slope is between perpendicular lines. So parallel lines, and this is the first learning point of the day. This is extremely important, so please write this down. I have this starred right here. Parallel lines, which never intersect, by the way, have the same slope. Okay? So that's what you need to zero in on there. Parallel lines, same slope. That's the purple and the red. Perpendicular lines have, this is the second big learning point of the day. There's only two big learning points of the day. Perpendicular lines, and I need a thicker pen, but that's okay. Have, and what we call this is, well, take a look at this. 3 versus negative 1/3. What is the relationship between 3 to negative 1/3? What does that kind of look like to you? Well, what happened from 3 to negative 1/3? Essentially, what I did was this. I took the opposite sign, so the 3 was positive, the 1/3 is negative. And then I also flipped the fraction. So if I wanted to make 3 into a fraction, I just put it over 1. And then I flipped the fraction as well. So I did two things to this. I flipped the fraction and made it negative. So what I call that when I flip the fraction is the reciprocal. And then when I switch the sign, I call that negative. Okay? So we call these negative reciprocal slopes. Negative reciprocal slopes. And that's the second big learning point of the day that we need to take. Are these two basic things right here. So if I were to say, what is the negative reciprocal, if I was just talking about negative reciprocals, and this will probably be part 2 of the video because it'll get too long. Okay, negative reciprocals. So first example, if I take the negative reciprocal of 2/3, what is that going to be? It's going to essentially switch signs, and the fraction is going to flip. So it's going to look like that. Pretty easy to understand. The next one, I'm going to say, what's the negative reciprocal of 5/7? Can you tell me what that would be? The sign switches to negative, and the fraction flips. Negative 7/5. Pretty easy to understand, really. How about the negative reciprocal of 4? What's the negative reciprocal of 4? Negative. Now we need to do more than just make it negative. We need to do two things. We need to make it negative and flip the fraction. So 4/1 becomes 1/4. So that's the negative reciprocal of 4. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to show you slopes that are perpendicular to one another. So if a line has a slope of 5/7, then the line perpendicular to that has a slope of negative 7/5. If a line has a slope of 4, then the line perpendicular, any line perpendicular to that line will have a slope of negative 1/4. So that's what I'm getting at there. All right, so something else you're going to have to do, I'm going to write this on the next page. I'm going to say write an equation. Write the equation of a line with a parallel slope. Okay, so essentially that's a parallel line. Okay, so write the equation of a parallel line. to the given line. So if I give you a line and that line is y equals negative 3/4 x plus 10, okay, you're going to do the following. Analyze the slope. Look at the slope right here and zero in on that. That's a slope of negative 3/4. The first learning point I mentioned on the other page was parallel lines have the same slope. So if I'm writing the equation of a line with a parallel slope, I'm going to keep this negative 3/4 the same. I'm going to write my y equals, keep the negative 3/4 exactly the same, because parallel lines have the same slope. And then all I'm going to do is change the y-intercept. So I can change that to 0 and just leave this as it is. I can change it to whatever number I want. How about this? I'll pick negative 5. Okay? So you only need to change this. Okay? Which is the b. You only need to change that. We'll do another example for class. Okay, so I'll leave room for another example, but for the video, I'm just going to go ahead to the perpendicular example. So I'm going to say, given the line, write an equation of a line perpendicular to the given line. So the given line in this case is y equals 2x minus 3. Y equals 2x minus 3. And I'm to write a line, the equation of a line perpendicular to that. What I'm going to do is analyze the slope. The slope is 2. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take the negative reciprocal of 2, which is, that's right, because 2 is basically the same as 2 over 1. So I make it negative, and I'm going to make that equal negative 1 over 2. That is the slope of a line perpendicular to this line. And I'm going to just write it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And then my y-intercept can be whatever, okay? Okay, in this case, for perpendicular, this y-intercept can be whatever. Whatever you want. Or you don't even have to write one, and it's 0 in that case. Okay,